Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Property Hustler Show. My name is Andrew, and today I'm here with Ping, and we're going to be discussing with you the recent interest rate hikes that happened here in Canada as of September 7th, 2022. What it means to people, how people are adjusting to it, things that we're doing, and things we think you can do to manage this situation. So, Ping, how much did the interest rate rise, and what do you think about it?
0.75%. It's definitely stressing a lot of people out.
Yeah, I know. I've actually been getting a lot of calls recently from people asking what we think about it, what we're doing about it. And there's always the general questions like, hey, so like interest rates are rising. What do you think about it? And it's funny because it's not just people who are in real estate. There's a lot of people who are asking, they don't have any skin in the game, and they just love the gossip, right? The interest rates are rising. What are all you real estate people going to do about it?
It's definitely hurting a lot of people and a lot of the homeowners as well, right? So we started seeing people who own a property and who never had any plan to actually lease out their basement. Now they're looking to that option because they just wanted to make sure that they can cover some cost.
A 0.75% increase to the mortgage rates. So like I'm looking at some variable rates right now through RBC and other banks, and they're on par with fixed rate mortgages right now. And everybody said that variable will always outperform fixed rate mortgages, but right now people who locked in, they're laughing right now. They're having a good time.
Exactly.
But you brought up a good point. Single family home buyers. Who do you think is more affected by these interest rate hikes? Is it investors or people who are flipping houses or people who bought a home and they want to live in it long term? Who do you think is most affected?
I think it's both, right? People who buy at 6 months ago, right? People who over leverage themselves and people who obviously wasn't anticipating that things can change to different direction. Those people are hurt the most. But one audience that I think is going to be the most stressed out is actually a single family homeowner. And this can be investors as well, but it's just like a property that has only one unit in there because there's not much you can do. You can try to rent it out. You can try to do an Airbnb. The chances are it may not still be enough to actually cover the carrying cost.
And actually, what I'm noticing is that roughly right now, every $100,000 that somebody has on their mortgage, that they're borrowing for the interest rate, it's costing them something like $500 a month. If they have let's just say $1 million property, whatever it is they have, I think it's affecting them every 1%. So this was 0.75%. Every 1% is costing them roughly an extra $400. So this is now, if somebody has a mortgage on a property in Toronto or elsewhere, they're probably having an increase of anywhere between $200 to $400 just on this. And people are stressed out about it. I noticed, for example, that people are talking about pressure points financially in various areas. They're talking about gas prices going up, food going up, various different things. And you add all those things together, and then on top of that, your mortgage is going up. Yeah, single family home buyers, people who are not operating as a business that don't have the versatility are probably going to be hurting. Have you heard anything in terms of what these guys might be doing?
People are start considering renting out their basement. Let's say if they have additional units or maybe extra room that they can actually lease out to friends, family. They started looking into that option. The second thing is that obviously people are looking for a side hustle, right? Because now there's two ways to really overcome an obstacle like this. Is either you try to cut your expense, which like you mentioned, nearly impossible to do that. Everything's still like going through the inflation. A lot of people also start looking into how to make a little bit more like extra income somewhere else.
And that's actually, I think, a better option. I'm experiencing some stress myself, when it comes to some of these bills, especially if you had just refinanced, because it's not just if you bought a property. What happens if you refinanced other properties in order to buy the new property that you have? So you now have new mortgages from your old properties, and it's like you bought them all over again, right? So you did the BRRRR method. Now you're having to pay top dollar for all these mortgages. It can be pretty stressful, but having the clarity of mind, think about how to make more money instead of just how to save. Because that's the thing. People right now have two mindsets. They want to either save money or make money. And which one is going to prevail most?
I always feel like making money should be your priority, right? Because like saving money is, don't get me wrong, saving money is the best way to make money. Because if you're not being reckless with your spending, that's literally how much you get to keep or how much you get to make by not having a bad habit. On the flip side, if your saving power is already not high enough, what you need to focus on is not the expense problem. Like you don't have the expense problem, you have the income problem.
Mm-hmm.
It is extremely important to always be looking at the different options when the time is right. Expand your options a little bit, look for different opportunities and try to create multiple different streams of income. That's really important because people who only invest in stock, who only invest in crypto, or people who only invest in real estate, they're not diversifying their income. They're not diversifying their risks.
It's kind of interesting that people who were never looking at their property as a business vessel, right? And so something that they would use to bring in an income stream are now being forced to do that. And it's really pushing this conversion of what homes used to be, which is just a home for you to live in, into now a business vessel for you to operate. People who would never consider renting out their rooms to international students. I know I have a friend in Toronto. She has a house and she's now doing rentals for international students who are coming over and doing kind of like a bread and breakfast. You know, she provides food for them and they live in one of the units and she gets paid a sum because she just refinanced her house to help her son buy another house. And now that son has an increased mortgage and she has an increased mortgage that she wasn't anticipating. She's retired, right? She only has a fixed income and she cannot necessarily afford these increased payments. So she's now forced to do this. And people are just getting really creative with how they're using their property to compensate for those extra costs in the mortgage payments.
If you really think about it, it's actually not a bad idea. It's just that they're doing it right now. If they were able to apply that kind of creativity back then, a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, the amount of extra income that they can build will be insane. I think people are just trying to reach their potential, figure out different ways to earn a little bit more income during a recession like this.
Yeah. What do you think is preventing people from thinking this way, like having that clarity to think this way?
Great question. A lot of people, when the moment that they're seeing accounts going up, they get a little too comfortable. We have like multiple different accounts, right? We always put our profit into a different account. The operating account is always going to be relatively low, a little stressful. That really helps us to keep expanding different ways, because the moment that we see, okay, this business or this stream of income is not going to provide us with a stability in the next 3 to 6 months, we want to pivot right away. We want to figure out a way to expand that. And if the market stays healthy, great. Now we have 2 incomes. I think it's just a habit, right?
Yeah.
It's a mindset of always not feeling content. So I hope that answers your question.
No, that does answer the question, right? Because it's that content that people usually put themselves into a situation of feeling content. Like, you know, they have the savings in their bank account. They feel comfortable because they know they have that pool, that slush fund to keep them in a comfort zone. However, people who are not comfortable being outside of comfort, the minute they're uncomfortable because the income isn't coming in or they don't have the right savings, now they're in a situation where they're just stressed and they can't think. They're not trained to think under stressful situations, and they aren't able to compartmentalize so that they can just say, okay, I'm going to leave this problem aside from now just so I can focus on one thing at a time. And that's, I think, one of some people's biggest challenges. So they need to figure out a way to overcome that. So I think we're on the same page when it comes to that. Right now, with the market being the way that it is, interest rates rising and things changing the way that they are, it is really important to not think so much about saving, because you can only save so much,
Exactly.
right? Saving is important, but you also want to make sure to focus on how to generate extra revenue streams. I think it was Gary Vee who was saying that anybody who only ever has one stream of income right now is going to find themselves in serious troubles. And that time may be now. Even people who didn't want to consider having multiple income streams, now it seems like everybody needs multiple income streams.
Yeah, that's why people were saying only the paranoid survives. Doesn't matter what the market condition is. You want to be a little like concerned about your future, because things can actually change a different direction very quickly. But now let's talk about things that people can actually do right now. Obviously, without that kind of mindset, and now these people start getting a little nervous. Now they're looking for a different pivot point. I do actually think there's still tons of opportunities here, but you just cannot feel stressed out. That will prevent you from thinking clearly on what your next move is going to be.
Well, let's measure that, because you're saying there's things that people can do, but what does that mean? When I've talked to people about this, and especially when it's conceptual, people don't always understand like what is the absolute obstacle that they have to overcome. What I find is that most people, when the interest rate hikes happen and there's a few more to come, yes, you can save money a little bit, but they on average need to now earn an extra $800 or so.
Which is not hard to do.
If you think about it like that, it's not hard to do. For a lot of people, by the way, we should not downplay that. For a lot of people, that is actually very difficult for people to do. Because you also have to factor in there's quality of life that people have to live by too. A lot of people work and are over leveraged and they cannot afford that. Like they cannot muster. They have family to pay for, they have concessions they would have to make, they have kids' bills. But it can be done. I think it's easier to make money than it is to save.
The time that we're in right now is there's no better time to actually make money. Everything is discounted. There's so many different ways that you can actually approach it. And the biggest issue is that people just don't know what they don't know, right? The moment that you don't know how to make that extra income, there's so much like free information out there. For example, Airbnb, property management, a leasing service in real estate. And I'm only talking about real estate related industry. These are all high demands that people need on a regular basis. If I need to invest outside of town, the very first thing that I'm going to do, and by the way, there's a lot of investors right now are looking to get back into the market. There are so many people ready to jump back into the market. They're just waiting for the right timing. The moment that they start pulling the trigger, these people will need someone locally to help them stabilize their asset. You can be right there for them.
And that is, as you said, just in the real estate sector. I have another friend who it was under a lot of pressure. Spoke to him again recently and he says, oh yeah, no, we actually solved that problem. I'm like, how'd you solve that problem? He says, my son. He posted it out on Facebook and he started cleaning cars. $100 a car. He says that his son, teenager too, is making about $1,000 a week cleaning cars in the driveway in his spare time over the summer. Under times of distress, innovated and they came up with ways to be stronger. And it's interesting because, yeah, I feel like we were and have been pretty comfortable in Canada and don't even know it or appreciate it. And it's made us, I think, honestly, I hate to say it, I feel like it's made us lazy.
Because things have actually been very comfortable when pandemic happens. Now the government started giving out a lot of money. You don't have to struggle at all, and then you miss the time of expanding your network, your knowledge, running a business, right? Those are all great time to actually start a business. Some people chose not to do anything. They chose to just stay at home, watch Netflix, chill.
Yeah, even in entrepreneurship, people want the higher level, the higher tier entrepreneurship, right? They don't always want the things that might, even like car cleaning. It's not like we're trying to tell people go out and clean cars. You can do whatever you want, but just understand that there are certain side hustles that are lucrative, right? People talk about driveway cleaning. People talk about using pressure washers. People talk about all kinds of things. And even a lot of realtors right now, who market is down, so they don't have as much work. There's not as much transactions happening. They're looking for side hustles too. And an intuitive and easy one that people are doing is the property management. And that's why they're buying the property management course from us that teaches them how to go about property managing professionally so that they don't have liability issues and they don't make a bigger mess for the clients that they already have existing relationships with. So there's a lot of things that people are doing and they're just kind of going not entirely out of the scope, but slightly out of their scope of work to expand their work.
And I think especially for real estate investing, there has been too many talks and too many hypes in the real estate industry. It's not always buy. If you are anticipating that you need to be kind of accumulating your cash prior to this recession, right now you're in such a great position. But it's just that buy mentality has been overhyped in the past probably 2 to 3 years. Here's the thing, for some of the viewers, if you are struggling or figuring out how to create that extra income for yourself, the very first thing that you can do is to actually start networking with other people. This is a time where you want to really start expanding your knowledge. You really don't know what you don't know. If you're just sitting in your bedroom trying to figure something out, it doesn't work that way. Just go out, come to our events, right? Network with people. Like there's a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of people who are actually hustling every single day trying to develop their business. Talk to them, pick up a few tips from these individuals.
With the pandemic, I think people kind of got used to maybe not going out as much, right? But these events, they're useful, they're valuable. You look at people's events and there's a lot of free ones. Ours is free too, and people come to it and they network with people. They develop ways to make money together. And the thing about that, people right now, because it was so easy to make money doing, I think, relatively easy things, now people need to understand the mentality of no work is beneath you. Doing some work is better than not working at all, and being productive and learning and growing, networking. As long as you're attaining some of these things, that is what you need. So I think we should start wrapping it up right now, guys, because I feel like we talked a little bit about things that you can do if you want to adjust in this real estate market. If you are being affected by the current interest rate hikes in Canada, and you are thinking about what you can do, there is definitely ways you can start cutting costs and saving. However, in addition to that, you also do not want to forget how to think about increasing your revenue stream and making more money during these times. If you have a property, figure out how to really optimize the property. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you found this content helpful, like, subscribe, and we will see you on the next one.